Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 382, The Corruption of Influence. Intermediate. Chapter 1, The Rise of Lord Ashworth. Lord Ashworth, a man whose name resonated with an air of old money and even older influence, was the fixture in the upper echelons of British society. He moved through the corridors of power with an effortless grace, a smile that could charm even the most cynical journalist, and a handshake that sealed deals worth millions. His title, a relic of a bygone era, served as a reminder of his family's long and storied history, a history intertwined with the very fabric of the nation. Ashworth, or Arthur as he preferred to be called by those within his carefully curated inner circle, had inherited not just a title, but also a vast portfolio of land, businesses and, most importantly, connections. From a young age, he had been groomed for a life of privilege and power. He attended the finest schools, travelled the world, and learned the subtle art of navigating the complex world of British politics. He entered Parliament with an air of inevitability, representing a safe Conservative seat in the heart of the English countryside. His constituents, mostly farmers and landowners, saw him as one of their own, a man who understood their concerns and would fight for their interests. They were, of course, mistaken. Arthur's true interest lay elsewhere, in the smoke-filled rooms of Westminster, where deals were struck and influence was traded like currency. He was a master of the subtle art of persuasion, a whisper in the ear of a minister, a quiet word at a dinner party. He understood that true power wasn't about shouting the loudest, it was about knowing who to talk to and what to say. He cultivated relationships with key figures in business, media, and even the intelligence services. He was a man who knew how to connect the dots, to bring people together, to make things happen. And he always made sure that he and his associates benefited handsomely from these connections. Chapter 2, The Web of Influence. Arthur's influence extended far beyond the hallowed halls of Parliament. He was a spider at the centre of a complex web, with threads reaching into every corner of British society. He sat on the boards of numerous companies, his presence a guarantee of access and influence. He was a patron of the arts, a benefactor of charities, a friend to the powerful. His lavish lifestyle was a testament to his success. He owned a sprawling estate in the Cotswolds, a townhouse in London, and a private jet that whisked him away to exotic destinations. He entertained lavishly, hosting dinners for politicians, business leaders, and celebrities. His parties were legendary, a who's who of the British elite. But beneath the veneer of respectability, Arthur was a master of manipulation. He used his influence to steer government contracts towards companies owned by his friends and family. He accepted donations to his charitable foundation, a convenient vehicle for funding his extravagant lifestyle. He even used his position on select committees to steer legislation in a direction that benefited his personal interests. His methods were subtle, almost undetectable. A quiet word in the ear of a minister, a strategically placed article in a friendly newspaper, a well-timed consultation with a lobbyist. These were the tools of his trade. He never left a paper trail, never said anything that could be directly linked to him. He was a ghost in the machine, a shadow of influence. He was careful, meticulous, always one step ahead of the game. He understood the importance of maintaining appearances, of cultivating an image of respectability. He was a pillar of the community, a man of integrity, a trusted advisor. Or so he wanted everyone to believe. Chapter 3: The Unravelling. But even the most carefully constructed web can be unravelled. Arthur's carefully crafted world began to crumble when a tenacious investigative journalist, Isabella Diaz, started digging into his affairs. Isabella, known for her relentless pursuit of truth, had received a tip about some suspicious transactions involving offshore accounts linked to Arthur's associates. She began to follow the money trail, tracing the complex web of shell companies and hidden payments. She faced resistance at every turn, encountering locked doors, stone-walled interviews, and even veiled threats. But Isabella was not easily deterred. She knew that something was rotten at the heart of Arthur's empire, and she was determined to expose it. As Isabella's investigation gained momentum, Arthur grew increasingly nervous. He tried to use his influence to silence her, pulling strings in the media, attempting to discredit her reputation. But Isabella was too smart, too well connected. She had anticipated his moves and had built a solid network of sources who were willing to speak off the record. The whispers in Westminster grew louder. Rumour of Arthur's shady dealings began to circulate. His allies in the media started to distance themselves from him. His business partners grew anxious. The carefully constructed facade of respectability began to crack. Then the dam broke. Isabella published her findings in a series of explosive articles, detailing Arthur's illicit activities, his secret bank accounts, and his web of influence. The public outcry was immediate and deafening. The Prime Minister was forced to address the allegations, promising a full and transparent investigation. The police investigation, triggered by Isabella's reporting, was swift and decisive. They raided Arthur's offices, seizing documents and electronic records. They interviewed his associates, many of whom, sensing the impending doom, were now willing to cooperate. The evidence against Arthur was overwhelming. The carefully concealed transactions, the hidden payments, the abuse of public office. It was all there, laid bare for the world to see. Look out for the sequel in a couple of stories' time. Vocabulary notes. Resonated, meaning to have a strong and lasting effect on someone, to evoke a feeling or memory. Example: Lord Ashworth, a man whose name resonated with an air of old money. Explanation. In this context, resonated suggests that Ashworth's name evoked a sense of history, wealth, and power in people's minds. It wasn't just a name, it carried weight and significance. Similar words: echoed, reverberated, evoked, called to mind, brought to mind. Inevitability, meaning the quality of being certain to happen, something that cannot be avoided. Example: he entered Parliament with an air of inevitability. Explanation. This implies that it seemed certain that Arthur would become a member of Parliament. His background, connections, and upbringing made it seem like a predetermined path. Similar words: certainty, unavoidability, destiny, fate, preordination. Cultivated, meaning to develop or improve something by careful and consistent effort, to foster or nurture relationships. Example: he cultivated relationships with key figures. Explanation. This means Arthur actively worked on building and maintaining relationships with important people. It wasn't accidental, it was a deliberate strategy. Similar words: developed, nurtured, fostered, built up, established. Conduit, meaning a channel or means of conveying or distributing something. Implied in 1. While not directly stated, Arthur acts as a conduit for influence and deals. Explanation. He facilitates connections and transactions between powerful individuals, acting as a bridge of intermediary. Similar words: channel, medium, intermediary, pipeline, facilitator. Meticulous, meaning showing great attention to detail, very careful and precise. Example: he was careful, meticulous, always one step ahead. Explanation: this highlights the precision and thoroughness of Arthur's actions. He didn't leave anything to chance. Similar words: thorough, precise, careful, painstaking, exacting. Veneer, meaning a thin decorative covering of finer wood applied to a coarser wood or other material. Figuratively, it means a superficial or deceptive appearance. Example: but beneath the veneer of respectability. Explanation: this suggests that Arthur's outward appearance of respectability was just a facade, hiding his corrupt activities. Similar words: facade, mask, pretense, outward show, guise. Insidious, meaning proceeding in a gradual, subtle way but with harmful effects. Example: his methods were subtle, insidious. Explanation: this emphasizes the gradual and often unnoticed nature of Arthur's manipulative tactics. They were subtle but ultimately very damaging. Similar words: subtle, cunning, devious, sly, treacherous. Tenacious, meaning tending to keep a firm hold of something, persistent. Example: a tenacious investigative journalist, Isabella Diaz. Explanation: this describes Isabella's determination and persistence in pursuing the truth, even in the face of obstacles. Similar words: persistent, determined, resolute, unwavering, dogged. Rotten, meaning decaying, morally corrupt. Example: she knew that something was rotten at the heart of Arthur's empire. Explanation: this implies that Arthur's organization or network was corrupt and morally decayed. Similar words: corrupt, tainted, decayed, putrid, immoral. Dam broke, meaning a point at which something long restrained suddenly gives way. Example: then the dam broke. Explanation: this idiom signifies the point at which the concealed information about Arthur's corruption was released, leading to a flood of revelations. Similar words: the truth came out, the secret was revealed, the situation changed drastically. Story written by Google Gemini 2.0 AI. CC Music, drifting at 432 Hz, unicorn heads. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Hello, this is Steve. If you enjoyed the story, please would you take the time to leave a meaningful comment and click on the like icon. If you want to know when the next story has been uploaded, please click on the notify bell icon to be notified. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and tell your English learning friends so they can benefit too. Thank you.